going? So, Wes, how'd the week go? Or the weekend?
Not good. Had my test yesterday and bombed that real bad.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Um,
surprising. I thought you were doing really well with that.
well, I would have said this about myself going into the interview anyway. Um, they, whatever, they gave all this practice test stuff, right? All these like questions to go over, and then the kind of example coding questions to go over or whatever. And basically, the interview was nothing to do with any of that.
Hmm.
The like, and it was 100% obviously node and whatever, um, but it was not like so right. We did the thing. It was like the kind of JavaScript destructuring and initializing and whatever, all of that
Hmm.
stuff, right? And then like a bunch of SQL queries and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
And basically, the live coding challenge was to just like build out entire get and post uh, endpoints or whatever.
Hmm.
And yeah, I whiffed on that entirely. As
Okay.
soon as he told me, I was like, "Can I look at any of my previous work?" He's like, "Nope." I was like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna go well." So,
Okay. So what
um,
stuff? So okay, we can talk about that. Which of the stuff you just mentioned did you do well? Like, did you get the
well,
destructuring and the sequel stuff too?
no, none of that was involved whatsoever.
Oh,
So,
wait. So
yeah,
what did they ask you then, other than the
that's what
two
I'm
endpoints?
that's what I'm saying. So it was all I don't even know if I got to the second. I mean, like I know that I didn't complete anything basically, but I don't know if the two kind of because that's what it's supposed to be is like two live coding questions or whatever. And so it was like build out this get and post. So I don't know if that was one of the two coding challenges or whatever, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or if that was if the like get was one and the post was two, you know. But anyway, the whole beginning portion was again had nothing to do with any of the kind of example questions that they had us studying or whatever.
Hmm.
It was it wasn't bad like that all went well. It was all just like talking about I ended up talking about my capstone. It was like, kind of describe to me when you've used Node and, all this stuff previously.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, we just did it on the capstone, so I can show you that stuff. So that all I think went fairly decently. But then, yeah, like I said, it had nothing to do with, you know, describe to me an env file or whatever. um, so yeah, then we got to the live coding challenge. It was basically, well, yeah, it was the same thing as the one that you and I worked on where we were trying to get the postgres to work.
Hmm.
Or no, what am I talking about? No, is that right? Yeah,
Yep.
where we were trying to get the version of that correct.
Hmm.
Um, it was basically that same thing, except for we weren't doing transferring endpoints over to the router and whatever. It was like building the actual endpoints for that. And so, yeah, I started on the get endpoint and I barely made any progress with that. And,
Hmm.
uh, the other thing I think is potentially interesting was like my last interview. well, the last two interviews really. The people were like helpful, you know, like yeah, I don't know. They were helpful, trying to
Hmm.
kind of guide me through it or talk with me about it, and yeah, I don't know. This dude was just like, yeah, I can tell you're not getting it, and so we might as well just end this or whatever. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
thanks.
wow. Okay. All right. He didn't even
And
get. He didn't say like, let's move on to the second question at least and come back to it. He was just like, wrap it up.
well, and I don't make any of that to like any fault of his or whatever.
Yeah.
And I should say like he did try to talk with me a bit about it, you know what I mean? But I just felt like the entire experience was different than the two previous interviews that I had. So
Yep.
um, yeah, and like I said, 100%, it's my like my fault, my bad. Like I 100% don't just know how to do that off the top of my head, build that stuff out.
Yep.
Like every time I've done it is like using a previous example and kind of modifying it and
Yeah.
seeing what problems I run into and fixing it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Um,
It's good to know. That'll. I think if you've seen enough, I think if you do a couple with just like make some endpoints with just the documentation and not looking at previous code, because you're
mm,
allowed to use documentation, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Then I think because the documentation, if you go to the right place, it has like pretty much like word like code snippets of like your examples.
Mm,
So it's not like you just have to kind of know where to find it because you're right. So you're not gonna like memorize the syntax for that stuff, but like um, just kind of like I feel like you understand conceptually what's going on though. So it's not. I think you just do a few examples without looking at notes and try it, and you'll know what resources to look for that you're allowed to, and then I think that'll help a lot.
yeah, and 100% we talked about at the end, like uh, I wasn't doing any of that. I do that before I go into any of the interviews, is like whatever kind of documentation is allowed, I kind of have it pulled up on tabs in my
Mm-hmm.
computer, so I can kind of reference that stuff or whatever. And like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I I should have for sure, and didn't. I just like choked on the whole thing. So
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it was all 100%, my own doing for sure. So,
Yep.
but interestingly, I'm not really sure what to make of this. I haven't gotten the like feedback response yet, meaning like I know I failed it, like I know that, but mm, usually, right, there's an email that follows up that's like, whatever, work on this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of that come through yet. So I don't know. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. I didn't see it either. I was wondering how you did because I didn't get an email either.
Yeah.
So
Well, I can tell you, did not, just not a snowball's chance that
mm,
I passed that. So,
okay. Well, so I just
but
sent you in Slack. I sent you a link to the Express docs, like npm Express that you use for writing endpoints. I
mm,
think that'll be your go-to. That's the official documentation. I'm pretty sure you're allowed to use that in the interviews, so that'll
yeah,
be the example to go off of.
as I've expressed many times, I'm definitely gonna look at it, but man, for sure, most of the times when I'm trying to read that documentation, it's like I might as well be not looking at it. You know what I mean? Because half the time I don't know what I'm looking at
Hmm.
anyway. So
So Wes? Did you have to use router? Do you remember? Or could
no, no, it was all just built out in the like app file. It wasn't in the router. But yeah, we weren't implementing a router.
okay. So if you check the link I just sent, I feel like maybe we could. Do you want to pull it up and look at it? See if I can
Yeah,
like make
I'll
sure you
pull
know
it
how to
up.
read this.
Yeah.
So I linked you right to the request, but like the homepage is a lot. But like you know how to use like Control F to find stuff.
Yeah.
Let's say you ended up on the homepage, like the top, and you're like, what am I? I'm trying to write a GET request, but I don't really know where to start. How would you be able to find that?
First start looking over on the side over here just to see like what the whatever you want to call it kind of index is.
Hmm.
But seems like we'd be looking in Express JSON.
Express JSON. I don't know if you've used that. Have you used it?
Don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, since we're not doing the router, it seems like not router.
Yep. Yeah, you don't need that.
I don't know. Static doesn't seem like the thing.
You could
I don't know.
so you could keep scrolling. A lot of these menus are like collapsible. So if you
Mhm.
scroll down past like URL encoded, then you get to like the application section.
Oh, I wasn't picking up on that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were saying we're in request.
Yeah, see how request has a bunch of menu options?
Yep. Okay.
So that's yeah, this is what I just linked you right to here. But you know,
Mhm.
you can bookmark this or have this pulled up, but another thing you could do Control F to find stuff.
Mhm.
You know, the reason they put all the docs on one giant page is so you can do Control F and search like everything. So
Yeah.
if you're at the top and you're like, where is this? Then you could Control F. You could find get. I would just type in get and then scroll down until I found something.
Yeah. So yeah, they got a couple of options. Looks like forget. Looks like it's these two right here.
Hmm. And see how. So do you know what those brackets mean? So right up there has like callback and brackets, and it has path, callback, and callback.
Well, yeah. So I mean, the path, uh, yeah, is like I don't know, the endpoint path or whatever, the backslash or like with what I was doing, the fave items or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and then the callback, then you just like building out whatever that function is, right? That's saying to go to the database and, whatever. Usually we're doing, making a call to the service file that has the whole connects query all built out or whatever.
Hmm.
And then the kind of array brackets, can't say that it'd be like if you're doing multiple callbacks, I guess.
So that is optional. So if you
Yeah.
scroll down to this chart here, okay, maybe it is multiple. Usually, anytime in documentation, if you see the brackets, it means it's like an optional thing. In jQuery, they had that a lot. It's like
Okay.
this is a third parameter if you pass it in, but you don't have to. It's not
Okay.
necessarily an array. It's usually just like a list of. You could. I think it looks like you can keep passing as many callbacks as you need to.
Yeah.
So
That's what it seems like.
yeah, right. It says you can provide multiple callbacks that are basically middleware. So it does the first one, then the second one, and the third one. If you just keep passing like 5 parameters or 6 parameters, and they're all callbacks, it'll just run one after another.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need all that. So this is what I think would help you is you could search all this for like get or post, and then you look at the docs, and then you scroll, and usually they have like a real simple example like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure it would have. Oh, what the heck? I'm not sure it would have dug me out of my hole, but so I can show you. We had so like this was the one that we did or whatever,
Hmm.
and the difference is that we moved all the stuff from the app file to the router file and did all that to make that work. And then, um, yeah, they provided us with basically the same thing, except for the get and the post were just, it looked like this, whatever, post your code here, or whatever. And yeah, so like this is basically what I got built for the get request or whatever.
Hmm.
So, um, so yeah, like I know I have a deep enough understanding of like what all needs to happen in order to pull all that off.
Yeah. Is
For sure.
this what's in your comments? Is that the code from the interview?
Yeah,
Okay. It
yeah, and
looks
then
like you're pretty close.
um, yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, I was making some headway, but then honestly, like I think we were talking previously. Maybe I do, I guess. I was gonna say without having the front end and being able to kind of inspect from the front end, I don't even know, like how I would check anything to like see what the responses look like or whatever.
Hmm.
But as I was just saying that, you could still add in console logs, right? And it would come up on the server or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because yeah, I was like, as I was doing it, I was like, I don't even know what this is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Hmm.
even know. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Especially thinking about like the get to me, just in concept, felt like like maybe I can get it to call back some stuff. But yeah, the post, I I don't even know like how I would have known to have a title and completed like what it was expecting as input information for the post.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's a good point. Can you was it on glitch?
no, this it was just like this. So we had to clone a repo and pull it up and get it all running and then try to do this. Side note, and maybe you're aware, but how we did the problem solving of trying to get the version of PG or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, he gave me a little tip that you can do npm install and then whatever package you're trying to update or whatever. And what we did was PG at, like with the at symbol,
Hmm.
latest, and
Hmm.
that automatically updated it or whatever. Because I'd gone back through that router thing a number of times practicing it or whatever, and it seemed like at least when we were working on it, what we had done was go in and like change this version or whatever in the package JSON and then run install again on PG,
Hmm.
and that would upgrade it or whatever. It seemed like a little more streamlined of a process.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that using getting it always gets the latest. You don't have to change it.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that was a cool, I don't know, a little tidbit that I picked up from that yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's good to note.
Yeah.
So how about
So,
what? So today, what do you want to do today?
that's a great question. Um, I feel like really what we should probably do is kind of talk about these things kind of line by line and just kind of break down what's happening, kind of
Hmm.
like in each line or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good.
Because, yeah, I for sure I would bomb this thing again today if I had to do it again. So,
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Ouch. So I was already planning to. I'm gonna try to make you like just make a Node app, sort of like the commented out code where you just has like a get and a post and it says put your code here, and then send
mhm.
that to you. And I don't know if you have to test it with Postman or something. But
Okay.
would you think that'd be helpful if we had another example to do from scratch?
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. To me, kind of comical part. Well, baseline thing is like I for sure I feel like I don't have a lot of repetitions doing this stuff. Like I did this module, like a solid at least month ago before I did my capstone. My capstone took me forever to build, so it's not like this stuff was you know, like I just read the chapters and took the test or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and like I don't feel like, I had more than basically a couple repetitions doing any of this stuff. And for sure, the more repetitions, the the more you just I'll be comfortable, you know, just trying to problem solve it or whatever. So
Yeah. Okay, cool.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll do
no,
that. I'll make a GitHub repo and send it to you, and it'll just be like, just have to clone it and run npm install, and then npm start or whatever should, or nodemon to the server. That'll get you going.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, anything you can do, I appreciate for sure.
Yeah,
Because I want to try to pass it second time around. So
yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I think going through line by line would probably help for this one.
yeah,
So
an interesting tactic that dude recommended was like to like comment out a line, like take a particular line, comment it out, and then like before you kind of run it, maybe run your tests or whatever, like kind of predict what's going to happen, or like what kind of error maybe you're going to get or whatever.
hmm,
I thought that was a kind of an interesting tactic. And
yeah,
then I
that's
was
a good
just going
idea.
to say also, a part that I found kind of comical was the dude was like, yeah, you just got to like take the time and go back and um, review everything and make sure you know what everything's doing because like and I get, he's like, you can't just like copy and paste your way through this. Every problem is going to be different and blah, 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 whatever. I was like, bro, I'm like months behind right now. Like, how do I have the extra leisure time to just be like, you know what? I'm not really getting this. I should probably go back and just hang out for a week figuring this out again or whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel like you're close to understanding it though. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
I mean,
React. Like you learned it when you built your project, and you just like did a little bit more with it, and then it started to click. So
yeah,
that's how I feel
for
with
sure.
this too. Is just like a little more practice. So I don't know if you need to go back and like read the curriculum again. I think practicing for this interview and then doing like another project, I think you'll get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, even just kind of doing, like, I didn't do specifically what he was talking about, but going back and because 100% was not something I did for preparation for the test, which is foolish, is I didn't like build out stuff like this. You know what I mean? I didn't, or I like even looking at well, they gave us the same file. I didn't like go through it line by line, like, okay, what is this line doing? What is that line doing? Like, what are we really making happen here? It's like, you want me to build the router, like change it from app to router? Oh, did that. You know what I mean? I wasn't getting more detailed with it. So,
Hmm.
um, just, yeah, going back and reading through it again today was helpful to, yeah, try to solidify some of the concepts in my mind.
Okay.
Because kind of like you said, like, I certainly don't have it solved, but like, I'm I'm edging my way towards progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So for this file, then, do you want to go through this one?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
might as well.
What does the app mean? You can start on like line 48.
That's a good question. Um, well, I don't know. The app is just kind of like the definition of like the whole thing, right? It's like the express. So I think somewhere, right? It's got to be that, yeah. App
Hmm.
equals express. So it's just kind of initializing the express so we can start building all this stuff out.
Yep. Perfect. It's the instance of Express. So,
Yeah.
and it has all those methods that you see: route, get, post. So, yep.
Yeah.
Initialize Express, and then so the next line. What's that mean?
So yeah, we're just um, mm, I suppose initializing might be a good term. We're kind of initializing or like designating what the route is going to be. That whatever, when you go to, let's say on your Postman, the backslash v1 backslash to dos, it's going to be ready to accept, like this get or post um, type of functions.
Hmm. Yep. And uh, okay. Yep. That's it. So then line
So,
50 is get. What's that mean?
yeah, so, well, actually, so just thinking about this, we were talking about the documentation, right? And where were we at for the get? It's where was that? Yeah, get path callback. So really, where was that? Yeah. So really, we designated the path previously, right? It's like not in the get. Is that,
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So
yeah.
you're right. We don't have to pass it. How does it know what the path is then?
Well,
Like
I
the
don't
docs
know.
say you're supposed to add it, and then this is you don't have it. So you know how it happens.
Well, like, I don't know if this, I know. I was going to use the term asynchronous, but that doesn't seem right. But just that it's kind of going down the line of the code or whatever. So it gets to route, it knows what that is, and I don't know. We aren't specifically like plugging it in anywhere, meaning like we're not referring back to this route method or whatever. But without me knowing any better, it just seems like because we've designated it beforehand, we don't have to call it inside the get.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
That's
then it
so.
seems,
Yeah. If you go to the documentation, it says that there's a default path for get. It's just like slash root
mm,
path
yeah,
has that default. Yeah. So you could specify again if you want like slash v1 slash I forget what the rest of the path was.
hmm,
Like if you want v1 slash to dos slash do something or like get, then you can add another one here on line 50. You would only have to put get,
okay,
and it would kind of like add it, like kind of concatenate those together. But since
okay,
you didn't pass it, it says the first parameter is a function, not a string, so that must not be a path. And they probably just want the default.
And it would seem like if I had gone that route, let's say in this,
Gone that
that
route.
would that that would probably make the test fail, right? Like if I had made it, v1 to do slash get or whatever, that it would be going to, like, the tests wouldn't be set up that way and
Yeah.
wouldn't be expecting the
Yeah.
get
Yeah, would have failed.
path or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so then kind of the whole rest of that, right, is the just referring to the documentation that we've been talking about, is like the callback, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're expecting using as the arguments to the function the request, response, and next. I guess
What do each of those three do?
so. I mean, the request is like the request body or something, right? Same thing. The response would be like the response body back from after you've made the request. And then next, I'm not real certain about, but it seems like you're just kind of telling the app to push, further down the line or whatever. Like, we've kind of completed this, so go to the next thing or whatever. But I'm not real certain about that.
Yep, that's exactly it. So if you had a request, yeah, it's not just the body. It has like headers and the body, the
Sure.
location,
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
have to, you know, if you like for post, if you need the body, you want to do request dot body, but like you could console log that and see what it looks like if you had to.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Next is it just goes down the pipeline. So if you
Yeah.
had another get here, like I don't know, you could probably chain another dot get. I'm not positive. I've never done that, and that's confusing code, so I've never tried it. But like, let's say farther down in this file you had like slash v1 slash to dos again, and you called next on it up here, then it would push it down to that code.
Okay.
If you had maybe like slash v1 slash to dos, instead of get, you had like all the requests coming in, no matter what the type is, should go through there. Then like if you call next, and then it would go down to that part.
Okay.
Does it matter? I was gonna ask you, does it matter what you name these? Like you call them request, response, next.
Um, then for whatever reason, the next seems like the only thing maybe, but no, right? They're just like arguments to a function. You can call them foo and bar and whatever, right? And just as long as you're calling it that same thing again,
Mm-hmm.
it would seem like it wouldn't matter what the actual name of it is. Because yeah, if it wasn't just REQ, if you like spelled it out to say request, or it wasn't just RES, you spelled it out to say response.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But does the next matter? Like, can you make next
You could call
be?
yeah, you could call it anything. There's the third parameter is next, so you could call it Z. Like it doesn't matter.
Huh.
But
Okay.
it's a function. It's not like request and response as are objects, and then next is a function.
Okay. So yeah, then moving next, the const connects instance equals request.app.get database. So, I mean, I feel like we kind of defined that or something previously, but I guess that wouldn't be true because we're defining it right now. I don't know. Yeah, database, right?
Mhm.
Um, uh, that's that refers to like I don't know something on this server page, right? Meaning the database portion of that.
Yep.
Um,
I saw
like
app.set is when it sets that property.
okay, yeah.
Uh,
So
and I'm gonna look that up because I have not I haven't really used that before. Yeah, so I
no,
found that in the docs too.
yeah, it was right here. In value title, my site. Um. Anyway, so we've kind of like defined what the connection to the database is, right?
Hmm.
Um, Meaning like, yeah, that we've set the database URL
Yep.
and that essentially is like what's going on here. So like up here, right, I kind of skipped that part, meaning didn't like define connects instance
Hmm.
and just put in request.app.get database. I mean, there's really no difference, right? Or no, I guess.
Hmm.
No, I haven't gone about that correctly, right?
Oh, I see. You tried to like put it in there instead of like declaring it as a variable and then putting it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, no, I guess I did.
yeah, it looks like your parentheses are off though. You want to
Oh, is it
close
right?
after you get DB property, then you close parentheses. Yeah, like at the end of
Oh, I
that
would
line.
need like another one after this, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you do yeah. So it's probably safer to do it, line by line.
Meaning define that variable
Yeah,
and then just plug that in.
yeah. Did the interview one have connects, or did it just say like return the sum of two numbers, or like if there's not a database, you don't need it. So did it have a database?
Um, yes, there was no data in it, but yeah, we had to, like I said, it was the basically all the instructions were exactly the same as the one that you and I worked on, where we had to clone it and run the migrations and run the test initially or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we had to like build the database locally or whatever, so it was here to be able to then run the tests and stuff.
Hmm. Did you have any trouble with the setup part?
No,
Okay, but
yeah, like I said, I done that a couple of times on the router thing that we were practicing.
hmm.
So no, the whole setup part went all right. Like I said, I practiced that stuff a number of times.
Okay, cool.
But let's see.
Did it give you a service like this?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
it was set up just like all the apps that you had, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, so and that's what I did is I like went into the service file, found the get to dos, and then went back and like kind of called that so we could, try to make the get request or whatever.
Hmm.
So building the connects instance, which basically means, right, we're just like connecting to the database.
Yep.
And then once we've done that, then we're calling the to do service and the get to dos. And Yeah, so that was why I ended up, I think, typing this in rather than connects instance, because when I was looking at the to-do service, it was taken in the database as the argument or whatever.
Hmm.
And so that's why I ended up doing the request app get database
Hmm.
all kind of spelled out rather than doing the connects instance.
Yeah.
So basically, it needs to get to dos and use basically the connection to the database as the argument to